Okay, that looks pretty good. Huh? Yes.
Hey everyone, my name is Maddie. I'm a 22-year-old competitive climber from Canada, currently living in Toronto. So we're here on my training camp in Victoria right after the national championships. And yeah, like I had to take quite a few days off before I was able to start the camp. So we had, I think, 1 or 2 fewer days than we planned. But nonetheless, we are here in Langford. And I'm actually getting on some boulders that Hamish Thompson set for us. And we never actually saw Hamish while we were at the camp. But he's the setter here at the Boulderhouse locations. And last time we were here, we actually asked him to set us a couple paddles. We saw him in person, and we asked him if he could set us a couple boulders, and he asked like what we're looking to work on, and I said paddles. So I guess he remembered from last time because he has set us a bunch more paddles, which is amazing. So I was working on this paddle for a while, and I never actually stuck it. So you can see me I'm gonna keep catching that like yellow finish hold, but yeah, I never was able to stick that one. This is session 2, I believe, or maybe 3 at Langford, but this is my first session on like the new set, like the Hamish set. So yeah, I was really actually excited to go and work on these boulders, but right now I think Libor, my coach, is actually filming me. So yeah, I'm having a session with him, and when I work with him on the island, he is there kind of in person giving me immediate beta advice, which I don't have in person. Of course, I've got Zach, and you can see Zach's actually climbing on the blue one on to the right. But yeah, Libor is helping me kind of with the boots on the ground, like what does he notice on my hips and all that sort of technical stuff. The stuff that I don't get, because he's a remote coach, so he doesn't get to work with me very often in person. So when he does, when I'm on the island, he likes to be at all my sessions and really watch me move and like give me advice in the moment, and also just take in my climbing and just figure out what I'm weak in, like what he needs to add to my workouts, or just kind of where I'm lacking in general. Now, obviously, this is right after nationals, so I'm a little bit tired. I have a cold at the moment. I think I was right on the tail end of the cold, so yeah, I didn't have it during nationals. I got it probably the day after. So yeah, not the best. It's always when I go to see Libor, I'm always like not quite at my best. But nonetheless, I think I was starting to pull out some harder moves for him. So this runny do, actually, I'm typically pretty good at runny do's, but this one was taking quite a while. And you can see this tempo was like really close. But unfortunately, to my surprise, I couldn't actually stick that one on day 1. So it was a little bit frustrating.
Hey, Zach.
Hello.
I don't know what to ask you.
So on day 2, I came back to this red paddle, and Libor actually predicted that I would get it on my 2nd try of the day. That ended up being true. So here's my first try, the failed attempt, but it was pretty close. Like I still got my hand on the 2nd hold. And then true to Libor's prediction, because Libor just at this point knows me pretty well as a climber, and you could tell how close I was getting the day before. It went pretty actually easily on day 2, but he challenged me actually after I got this to do it 4 more times. Now, because it's such like a low percentage move, and I didn't quite have the precise movement down, and I was a little bit low effort afterwards. I wasn't too invested anymore after I already did it. I was only able to get 1 more send of it, but nonetheless, it's a good challenge. Like with moves like this, I always try to do them at least 2 or 3 times. But Libor was like, okay, 5 times. So it was like, oh, shoot. And, you know, you can tell yourself to do something 5 times, but when a coach says it to you, it really means a lot more, because it feels like there's no escape. You know, he's standing there, he's like waiting for you to do it 5 times. If you just say to yourself, I'm going to do it 5 times, you might not actually stick to it. So I'm actually going to transition now into our tip of the day. And this is actually something that we're going to see on the next boulder kind of in practice, and something I learned at nationals. So if you recall from my nationals video, there was a move in semifinals that I got that I didn't actually know I was good at. And so the tip of the day is you can practice moves and fall on them and never send them, but still get better at them. And that's something I learned at nationals. So this move, for example, is kind of demonstrating this idea. So this is a bit of a paddle. I'm trying it. This is day 2 of trying. I'm trying different things. I'm getting higher on it, but I'm just not quite getting it. And what I learned at nationals is that there's still a lot of value in falling on something and never sending a move. Because sometimes you'll encounter easier versions of this move that maybe you haven't actually successfully done a specific move before, but you've practiced it enough and like failed at it and learned what not to do and learned how to get closer, like ever so slightly closer, that when you apply your kind of technique knowledge to an easier version of the move, it actually goes pretty easily, or even, with a couple falls. So I actually learned that at nationals. So I was trying my kind of, you hit the first hand of a paddle, you swing to the left, you match, and then you swing to the right and go and grab the next hold. And that was the move in semifinals that I was able to get. And again, like when I was trying that move in Frankfurt a couple weeks earlier, I was not, like I'd say I was close, but I never ended up sticking the move. So I didn't know I was getting better at it until I went to nationals and I found an easier version of that move, or a slightly easier version, and I was able to do that. So the tip of the day is, failure can lead to success. So definitely, it helps me be in like a bit of a better mindset when I'm falling in training. I'm not sending moves. It's kind of just comforting to know that I am still getting better at them. As long as I'm just focusing on trying to make something that feels impossible feel like slightly less impossible, trying to optimize the move ever just so slightly, you can still get better at it. So this is another example. Like I was never able to stick this stand-up move on the final move of this slab. And I remember I watched Zach do it like pretty easily the day before. And I was so frustrated that I couldn't do it either. But I realized that I was getting ever so slightly better at it each time. It didn't feel like it the whole time, but I knew that just putting my body in that position and just like going through the motions and feeling the movement, like feeling the position, I know that if I were to encounter a slightly easier version of that move, I would probably be able to be successful on it. Now, this is where it helps to have maybe a coach or have the ability to put holds on the wall or change routes ever so slightly in order to get that easier version and give yourself the kind of the affirmation that you can do it. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the time, and for me and probably for you at home, like when you go to the gym, you can't change the holds. You can't change what's on the wall. Sometimes maybe there's a jug nearby that you can use to make a move easier. For example, on the yellow boulder earlier, I was using a different start hold, but whether you have an easier version to test on or not, sometimes it is easier or it is beneficial to either show yourself that you can do the move or just continue trying the move and just know that like even if you're not sending something, you are still getting better at it because you're putting your body through the motions and through the whole thing, and you're eventually just getting a little bit better at it, even if it's just from like just constantly doing the motions. So that was my biggest takeaway from nationals, I'd say, and I was able to apply it immediately to my sessions here in Victoria. I've been finding lately that I've been getting on just really, really hard boulders, and I haven't been seeing a lot of success on them, and it's making me frustrated. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't see how you can not be frustrated when you just go to the gym over and over again and you're seeing failure. But I always kind of had this kind of idea in the back of my head that once I just get to the competition, everything will be okay. If I just get to the World Cups, I'll feel better, even if I'm not like sending during training. And yes, there is a large part of like preparing for competitions that involves, on-siting things and getting boulders done and like, testing that you can do moves effectively. But I find that a lot of the time when I go to competitions, I'm doing slightly easier boulders than the ones I do in training. And there is a good there's like a good like middle ground to find between like boulders that are too hard and boulders that are too easy. Like you want to kind of have the middle ground, and maybe I've been swaying a little bit too much to the too hard side of it. But I realized that just mentally it is kind of a weight off my shoulders to know that even when I'm falling on boulders, I am still getting better at them. And so when I do go to competitions, it's kind of why I feel like I'm more in control. Like I can perform better at competitions because the boulders aren't quite as hard as the ones I've been trying in training. However, it is good to have a little success. So when I can, I like to throw a jug in or make the boulder easier if I happen to be in a position where I can put a screw hold on the wall or something like that, to just test to see if I really can do this move easier. Because sometimes you can't, like you're not really learning the move appropriately. But that was my biggest takeaway from nationals, and I didn't actually realize that until a couple days later, like after I was done kind of figuring out what went wrong in finals and like what I'm gonna do tactically to improve and all that sort of stuff. I kind of stepped back and I was like, there were some takeaways from like other rounds, not even finals, that I can apply to my training. And sometimes when we come back from like bad or good events, we tend to focus on the final because the final is like the important one. It's like the one that mattered. But in reality, sometimes semifinals is the harder round, and that's the one you really should be looking at to test yourself, especially if you're looking to train or compete in World Cups, where the semifinal round at a national event is more like the World Cup round in terms of difficulty. So yeah, like it kind of got me to think more about the broader scope of an entire competition. So the next day was the day we flew home to Toronto. So I had a quick session at the Boulders in Saanich. And that's like I think they hosted the 2013 Youth World Championships there. It's got an amazing lead wall. And so we did a quick session there. I did just one route and a couple boulders. And then we flew home to Toronto, and that's when I started my rest week. So got a couple days. I think I have 5 days off, and then it is back to training in Toronto.